Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Dr. Glenn Vo shooting live again at my favorite coffee place, George Provisions in Coppell, Texas. And I have somebody that I've been trying to get this guy on for quite some time. So before we get into our episode, I'd like to give a shout out to Mango Voice, one of our premier sponsors. Mango Voice offers voice over IP phones for dental practices, but it's so much more. Go check them out and make sure you ask for the Nifty Thrifty deal. He helps us all save money in taxes. The founder of Medical Incentive Advisors, Corbin Rayburn. Corbin, what's up, man?
Glenn, I appreciate it. Love the shop.
I love it. And how's the coffee? How's the coffee?
It's good.
There you go. And guys, if you're the owner of George Provision, you might want watching this. This man can help you save on taxes. That's what we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so you got to tell me the whole story here. How you started Medical Incentive Advisors. Give me the origin story.
Of course.
Tell me the story behind it.
Right. So obviously, my background has been in the financial services industry. I have my Series 6, Series 7 life and health license. Obviously, I'm not a CPA, but we have the 27 CPAs, 10 plus tax attorneys, on our team.
You get a team of professionals all working with you.
Right. So I am the middleman between the CPAs and me, right?
Yeah.
And the business owner, right? How did I get into this, kind of industry? Did I know I was going to be in the medical industry? No. The first person I really helped out was a guy that was in real estate, and his best friend obviously was a dentist.
Okay.
And so he referred me to the dentist, right? And then, they got me involved with the ACA. They got me involved with clear aligners. They got me involved.
Obviously you helped this.
It's just,
Obviously you helped this guy out, or else he wouldn't introduce you to all these people.
Of course. And so, the power of relationships, right?
Yeah.
And as a business owner, when we talk about, networking, we talk about relationships, we talk about, what we're doing for our business every day, right? The power of connecting, the power of relationships. Man,
that's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
It really is. It really is. And I can't go off of that knowing, how much relationships matter.
Yeah.
And
now we're not going to mention any names. We're not going to mention any names. Of course. But this dude, you have to, since he was the first dentist you worked with, which basically opened this whole new arena, giving you the opportunity to help people like me, right? Mm-hmm. Without mentioning his name, without mentioning names or anything, how much money did you save that person?
Man, to be honest, they were a maturing practice, and I only saved them, recovered for them, $45,000.
Hey, first of all, raise your hand if you're watching this right now, if you would like to save $45,000. I mean, Corbin, he's being very modest here. He's like, I just saved him $45,000 is a lot of money, man.
Which is a lot,
So we're gonna talk right now about the ERC and the R&D, right? It's almost like you told me. It's almost like a strategies that you have to take together to maximize things. Right, talk about that.
Yeah. So right now, if you're a business owner, right, especially being in dentistry, right? Dentistry, the R&D is one of the biggest things that is not being utilized, and the ERC is kind of taking up that whole gap. Which I don't like, right? I was kind of built on the whole R&D thing that's been around since 1981. The ERC has been around since, I guess, when COVID happened, right? Yeah. Right. So we have a kind of thing about what the R&D does for a practice owner. But the R&D is tax free. It's gonna supplement and take away the tax you have to pay for the ERC. And a lot of times for a practice owner, the ERC is gonna be a bigger number, right? So if you have 8 to 10 employees per practice, well, you're looking at over 6 figures.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So being, thinking about being in the top tax bracket, you're paying 33% on that six-figure dollar, so you're paying $33,000. Well, have the R&D take care of that $33,000.
Yeah.
Right, and just do it.
Now, I want to ask a follow-up question. So we already talked about the ERC is not going to last forever. It's going to end eventually, and that's why you guys need to get on top of that. But for the R&D, is that going away anytime soon?
No. So the R&D, right? We can go back 3 years the first time.
Okay.
Most business owners right now have already filed for 2022. So we're only taking 2020 and 2021 at this time. Right?
Okay.
So right now, that's what we're doing for the R&D. Moving forward, we'll take 2023 or 2024, just like every day.
There you go. So again, I mean, for if you have never, so someone's watching right now and they have never taken advantage of the R&D credit,
right?
There's a good chance they can get something.
Well, as a practice owner, yes.
Yeah, as a practice owner,
you're the second biggest industry to receive this type of credit behind construction. And that's in Forbes. So when you kind of say that, and you kind of think about what you do every day as a practice owner, you're in the manufacturing industry.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of what the R&D is, you have to bring in third parties. You have to bring in, you have payroll. You have your staff that's involved with the equipment, the technology of analog to digital. I mean, your whole workflow, you're trying to be more efficient, more profitable. You have your Monday morning meetings, your Friday morning meetings, and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to talk to my staff about how we're going to be better monthly, better weekly, how we can have more patients in the door, how do we cater to this, right? And that's through teamwork makes the dream work. I always say that too.
I love it. So, I'm just curious because I was thinking about for myself, like 2024, there's a lot of uncertainty, man. There's like, it's elections coming up, all this stuff coming up.
Everyone's concerned about audits, right?
Like the IRS audits.
Right, the IRS audits, CPA's audits, right?
Yeah.
I have to deal with every day with the business owners' CPAs. That's not a fun deal to deal with, your CPA, the business owner CPA, but that's part of the deal that, I do, right? So, what we, do is we bring in the right people to, bring in the expertise to get this work done. And man, at the end of the day, dentist owners right now, they're just not aware of, the certain specialties, certain things that need to be done as a business owner, right? Yeah. And so bringing the awareness, bringing that to the table, that's what we do. You can kind of keep it as simple as possible, knowing how it can be complex, but really it's really not that complex, and it's really that simple.
Everybody's always worried about this, right? And you're gonna laugh when I say this. Like everyone's worried about, like, man, if I do something wrong, like I don't want to take any chances. I want to be very conservative. And there's CPAs out there that say, hey, you gotta be, because you're worried about getting audited, you're worried about going to jail. For those who have that concern, what do you say to them?
Well, I mean, right now, the ERC, right? The employee retention credit is such a big vocal point.
Because people are saying, like, hey, they heard that they're getting money clawed back and all these different things. Lay it out to everybody.
Yeah, I actually I hate talking about the employee retention credit. I do.
Yeah,
I hate talking about it. It's really not that fun to talk about. The employee retention credit is moving forward so quick, so fast. People don't need to have this pandemic, so to say, of like the audit response.
Yeah,
right?
They're worried that they do that, they're getting audited, and they read everything in the news that it's ending and stuff like that. So look, dispel the myths to all these people who are like just freaking out about this.
Yeah, so it's a 60 to 90 day period of delay.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, 60 to 90 days, right? And so, to convey that to the financial advisors, to the CPA, right? Obviously, there's 6 million words in the tax code, and it is very hard to be an expert in all assets, in all facets of it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we are, and that's where we come in, and that's where we win, right? So we win on that side. The tax attorneys do a great job. That's that is kind of like the game changer when I say, when we come in and do our work. Everyone's saying, okay, well, what's your process, right? Us doing the work. Yes, we have to upload the documents. Yes. After that, they talk with a tax attorney.
Yeah.
If they get a tax opinion letter, right? That's a big difference from, right now the IRS is actually doing us a very good job of actually getting the riffraff.
Yeah, they're getting all the scrubs who don't know what they're doing out of there.
Right. So,
because those are the people, and again, I got to let everyone know, all these horror stories that you hear, those are caused by the people who don't know what they're doing, who literally is like, don't have a reputation. They set up something, and they help you, and then all of a sudden they disappear. But with you guys, it's different because you got an office right here in Dallas. You can drive over and talk to these guys.
The ERC, again, is one tax strategy.
Yeah.
Right. The ERC is one tax strategy amongst so many others.
Yeah.
That's not what we specialize in. Right. Our bread and butter has been, tax returns and other tax strategies outside of the ERC. ERC, let's kind of revisit this, right? Is going to be going away in 2025. So this was a very short period time frame of even the existence.
So what you're saying is, if you guys were ever thinking about doing an ERC, you shouldn't be just twiddling your thumbs. You should probably get onto it soon, right?
No, you should. You should, guys. I mean, everyone out there, I think it is a disservice.
Yeah.
It's a disservice, and I'll be cocky right here. I'll say it just like it is. It's a disservice as a business owner if you're not taking advantage of it. Having the tax attorneys, the people in place, knowing the fact that, this audit concern, the bad news bears. So, that's just not existent in my life, right? It might be for other people's life, not mine.
Because, on your team, talk about that. Because, again, there's all these companies at ERC. There's people who are like, hey, my CPA can do it. Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is that we all understand that every CPA is different. Some CPAs, they just want to be very conservative, check off the box. They're not there to be a strategist, right? So explain the difference between like your run-of-the-mill CPA and then you guys.
So there is a big difference right there, okay?
Yeah.
A business CPA obviously has a bunch of deadlines he's working on, right? When he talks to the business owner, again, I'll go back to this analogy of the 6 million words in the tax code. There's a lot of effing words in the tax code, right? To remember, right? To be an expert in all assets of it, and then, do your daily returns, right? He's meeting deadlines. He has to meet those deadlines every quarter, right? You're a number, right? So outside of the personal business owner, my biggest relationships are the CPAs.
Oh, wow.
So they come to me and say, hey, my client needs this work done, needs the ERC done. And okay, cool. I need you to do it. The CPAs that kind of think that they know what's going on. And again, we're talking about the ERC. I like to get off that subject of the ERC, knowing the fact that everyone's done it.
And there's other opportunities. That's the thing. I mean, everyone's thinking like, okay, saving on taxes, tax strategies. You're thinking, okay, ERC and stuff. But the reason why we have this man on the podcast today is because there's more than just ERC. But we want to address that because everyone is all caught up in that. But here's the thing. Like, again, you can... Not only are other dentists, other business owners, but actually other CPAs go to these guys for advice. So talk about like the other strategies. So we talked about ERC, but like, for dentists who are watching this right now and they're thinking like, well, I'm comfortable. I'm doing what I'm doing. My CPA does what they need to do. But what I'm saying to everybody is that you are potentially leaving money on the table if you don't take advantage. So what are some of the mistakes? What are some of the mistakes that dentists make when it comes to taxes?
Right now, obviously, Glenn, you kind of know, being an ex-dentist, right? Kind of moved on into your new performa, right? I'll say that dentists are kind of they're okay, right? But they do rely on their business advisors, right?
Sure.
Just like all of us, right? The R&D tax credit actually is the biggest tax credit available to dentist owners today, right? That's outside of the ERC, right? So as a dentist owner or a practice owner, you're actually considered in the second biggest industry to receive the tax credit. Right behind construction. You're actually in the manufacturing industry.
Wow.
So, what that does is actually kind of it actually parlays and complements the ERC directly, right? So it actually takes away your tax that you have to pay for the ERC, or it'll actually take care of the whole ERC completely.
What are some of the boxes that someone has to check to get the R? I mean, obviously, talk to a professional who knows what they're doing, and you guys have done this with a lot with dentists. But like, what are some of the things like if an owner's like, okay, I want to take advantage of that? What are some of the things that they have to have?
The biggest thing right now is when you hear research development tax credit, you think about white lab coats, science speakers, right? And you're just like, man,
doing experiments and stuff,
right? Exactly. But the business of dentistry is changing so much from analog to digital.
Yeah.
Right. So you're implementing the iTero, right? You're able to do.
You're milling crowns. You're doing all that stuff.
You're able to do a 29 crown procedure in 2 days, right? So I mean, and that's with technology, right? And so that's with the better workflow. It's really based off so I always use this example as the iTero, right? So what does the iTero do for your business? Well, it reduces chair time for your patient.
Yeah.
It reduces the amount of visits they have to come back, but more importantly, who's involved in that one activity, right? So you have yourself as a doctor, you have your
assistant,
your office manager, your hygienist. You have all these people on payroll that are involved in just this one activity in iTero.
Yeah.
We're taking that iTero and we're actually, kind of specifying that. But those wages that you pay your staff for the iTero, that's R&D.
Huh.
Right. So so think about your whole workflow.
Yeah.
The iTero, I think, is a scanner.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So think about the front desk. Think about Weave. Think about technology they use for patient retention.
Yeah.
The CBCT, the Fatona.
I mean, and again, like if you have a milling unit, you make crowns, or you have something to make the liners.
Right.
I mean, you're fabricating things. So, I mean, it sounds like
it
sounds like almost every dentist that applies that workflow can qualify for this.
Right. And so as the ERC happens, right, that's considered business income, which is taxable, right?
Yeah.
The R&D is tax free, right? So as these dentist owners get the ERC, they start realizing I just got $300,000 for ERC. Yes, I'm in the top tax bracket. Yes, I have to pay 33% or 36% of this money I just received. So how do we combat that? How do we help the practice owner with that? The R&D.
Wow.
Right. So it just piggybacks immediately on that. And then one other thing too, cost segregation. Most practice owners, they either rent, lease, or own
their practice. Yeah.
So, I mean, those depreciable assets, if we can accelerate that depreciation, for the business owners, they get it in one lump sum, that's huge. I mean, we can go back 17 years.
Really?
And
now, let me ask you this. What about for the R&D? Can you go back previous years for that?
Right.
Or is it only that current year?
So right now we go back 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because, people are buying stuff all the time, and it's adding new different services and whatnot.
Right now, if you're a dental practice owner, I would say that if you're not complementing the ERC with the R&D, I think that you're I don't know. I mean,
let's ask this. Let's
Right.
let's talk about
Yeah.
let's talk about numbers. How much money, like on average, with the practices you work? We have a mutual friend, Dr.
Right.
Mike Tran. He teaches a lot and whatnot. You've helped him a lot. He's
Right.
told me many times. That's the reason why I got this guy on the podcast, because he's told me, he's like, you need to talk to this guy.
Right.
He's gonna say he's
Right.
gonna be your next best friend. He's gonna save you so much money. But just on average, with most of the dentists you work with,
Man,
what's some savings? Just throw out
Man.
like an
All right,
average
so, I mean-
on the low side, average number you've helped people save.
I'm always on the low side, right? So I'm always very conservative.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to the ERC, when it comes to R&D, when it comes to all this stuff that we deal with, right, on a daily basis, I would say, man, there is thousands, if not hundreds of thousands,
Wow.
out on the table, right?
Wow.
You know, and sometimes I don't know who.
Man, what can you guys do with 100 G's, man? There's a lot of things I can do.
Yeah.
So what's for someone who, okay, obviously you can go to their website, Medical Incentive Advisors. You can look up, Corbin's everywhere. He's in the group. He's on LinkedIn. I mean, literally you message the man, he's going to reply, because he loves connecting with people. But for those who are like, okay, I want to see what you guys can do.
Yeah.
I want to see how you can help us out. What's the first step?
Yeah. I mean,
you can definitely DM this guy. But what are the first steps?
I mean, the first step was just go to the website. Obviously, there's a client login where you actually put your information in. But outside of that too, I do want to stress about if a business owner outside of their business CPA, all right. So this is kind of you kind of need to know this, right?
Yeah.
If you're making $150,000 to $200,000 a year, right? There's $15,000 to $25,000 left on the table that your business CPA is not taking care of. Okay.
Wow. Are you ready for the hard question?
Do it.
This is the hard question. This is the question that everyone probably asks you all the time.
Right.
You probably get irritated by hearing this, but it's a valid question. That is, what is this going to all cost me, Corbin? I want to work with you. I want to do that. What is this all going to cost me? Because everyone's going to ask you that, right? That's the question, right? So for those who are watching right now,
what does it cost, right?
What is it going to cost?
What does it cost? Right. So the R&D costs 25% of the final recovery number, right? The ERC, 15% of the final recovery number. I don't really like to say that up front.
But here's the thing: some people need to understand. When you say recovery number, that means you guys don't get paid unless we get something.
Right.
So there's no here's a prepayment.
There's like a little caveat, to that, right?
Okay.
So I mean, you have to think about, the tax attorneys involved. You have to think about the CPAs involved, right? So the difference between, this firm, our firm, while we're still here, while we're not getting, I guess, booted out of the whole system, right?
Yeah.
I hate being kind of categorized with the other companies, right?
Yeah.
Because it's such a bad.
Yeah.
bad
I mean,
wording.
they're like predatory
Well,
companies here. But then they open up and they just disappear. But you guys, again, you guys can easily come to Dallas, come to their office. They're around, right? They're not hiding behind anything. So yeah, no, of course they lump you in, but there's a big difference here because you guys care about your reputation and you're out there.
When you walk through, a practice owner through the process, right? When they have the chance to talk to, Jason Carr, the tax attorney that's assigned to their case, when they have like the tax opinion letter, when they go through the process, I mean, they feel very comfortable, and they say, yeah, I'm not going to get audited. I mean, I'm not going to have any issues here. We did all the right steps. We did have a analysis, a report being sent to us, right? So I mean, as a business owner, you're kind of like, all right, cool. I have everything I need, and I don't need to worry about this anymore. But as a business owner, it's smart for me to get it done.
Yeah.
It's smart for me to move.
So
forward.
as far as like the fees go, what you were saying is whatever a percentage of what is recovered. Is there any other fees involved as well?
No. So I mean, with that being said, there's zero upfront fees.
Wow.
So I mean, we don't get paid until you get paid, right?
So literally, I mean, that sounds like pretty risk free to me, man.
Well,
I mean, because the thing is like if you weren't going to do it, you weren't going to get money anyways, right?
So I mean,
and if you do it wrong, you might not get any money. And these guys, they're you guys are incentivized to make sure you get.
With that being said, The biggest, I would say, when it comes to, I would say business CPAs, right? The biggest problem is people are not implementing tax strategies, right?
Yeah.
They're not doing it, right? We can talk about it all day long. I can talk about the ERC, I can talk about R&D, I can talk about cost seg, I can talk about the Augusta rule, I can talk about all these tax strategies, right? But if you're not doing it, or if you're not implementing it,
what's the point?
What's the point?
Right? What's the point? I mean,
Right.
you talk about all these things, you hear
Right.
about all these things, and if you're too scared to do these things, then you're never going to benefit. And
Right.
again, Corbin just laid out, look, there's some bad characters out there.
There is. I mean,
There's some bad characters. I mean, with anything, but again, it's like, it's more of like the track record. Like most of your friends, most of your peers have worked with this guy right here, right? That's how I got introduced to it, is work with this guy. And this is a core part of your business, is helping dentists, and not just dentists, but business owners save taxes.
Well,
save on taxes.
and that's very true. And just like any business, the fruit of your labor is based off of relationships, right? I mean, so through relationships, being part of the AACA, being part of, Clear Aligners, being part of all these associations, man, it's been crazy.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because again, I think people need to realize this. I mean, you have spoken at a lot of conferences. I mean, we've talked about Dr. Mark Tran, and you spoke at his CE course, and he teaches clinical, right? But it's so important that you're there for his students. But talk about, what are some of the conferences you've been at? You talk about AACA.
Yeah, for example, a lot of conferences that I go to are very, very clinical, right?
Yeah.
They're very clinical, but it's very clinical in the matters of advancement of dentistry, right? So I mean, it's knowledge of kind of taking the next step, and I feel like a lot of dental practice owners right now, with the business of dentistry changing from analog to digital, they're not taking that step, right? They're kind of hesitant of the ROI of the money being put in for the new technology that needs to be happen. But right there, when they invest in themselves and believe in themselves, that's where these taxes happen, these tax savings happen.
We talked about best way to get a hold of you. We talked about the ways you save money. We talked about all the people that you work with.
Right.
Now, people are probably wondering, well, and they're going to watch this podcast. It could be like different times of the year they might see this podcast. Is there a better time to get started with this, or is there a bad time to get started, or is the best time any time, or just getting started?
Well, right now, all right. So right now, as we all know, you've either done the ERC or you haven't, right?
Yeah.
Most business owners have already filed for 2022. So when it comes to the R&D, we're grabbing 2020 and 2021 to offset those taxes for the ERC. We can go back actually, 10 years when it comes to like the cost seg, right? That is a big deal right now. As a business owner, you have to realize before the end of the year, any depreciable assets in 2023, you get back 80%. In 2024, it's 60%.
Oh, wow.
Right. So it's a huge, that's a 20% difference. Right. So that's
you need to get on top of that.
Right. So that's kind of a big talking point. As we know, most practice owners own their own practice, or they lease, or they own it. Right. So that's a big talking point right now.
Wow. I love that. Okay. So again, best way to get a hold of you is go to the website. You can always DM them. You always call. And then, of course, the next process is once they get a hold of you, there's a conference call, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and usually, that call,
Like, do they have to give you a bunch of information,
No,
like their last year's tax returns, all those things,
actually, it's so, I would say, not intimidating.
Yeah.
It's so easy, knowing that, having worked with so many practice owners, the conversation is very, very consistent. You kind of know already what the practice owner is going through. You kind of hit those pain points, and you kind of ask them the right questions at the right time, and make it very, very simple for them.
So Corbin, being the entrepreneur that you are, I mean, of course, I'm going to have to ask you entrepreneur questions, right? So we're going to shift gears a little bit. I want to ask you about business stuff because you're an successful entrepreneur. You've done very well for yourself, and you're a master. I would say a master networker. Before we ask about the networking question, I want to ask a business. So what's something you do to incentivize your team to make sure that they keep hustling and that you guys keep growing?
Right. And that's a big deal. Your team, your people that are on your side, they have to trust you first, right?
Yeah.
But then again, what I do is not sexy, right? I'm talking about taxes all day.
Taxes, yeah. No one's getting all hyped up about that,
right? So usually when I come into the game, right, I'm working in conjunction or with the CPA of the business owner, and to incentivize my employees is pretty simple, right? What do you do, right? Well, they have to do a bunch of paperwork that the business owner has to submit, right? They advocate to that. They get a percentage of each case that comes in. And from the works of it, I've kind of felt like, this 5% thing I've done, I might probably shoot myself in the foot by saying it, but 5% for each case, for each,
I mean, that's a big deal for a lot of these team members. And let me ask you this. I mean, obviously, does that keep them motivated to follow through? Because there's a lot of follow through there.
Yeah, there is, right? I mean, so as a business owner, me, myself, I wouldn't submit all the documents in one day, right? So this is, sometimes this could portray into, a 2-week thing, a 3-week thing, depending on the business owner status, right?
Yeah.
So it is lucrative. By average,
and this is on top of what you pay them, like salary wise.
Right.
Okay, so it's not like this is a strict commission style that you're paying them. So this is like a bonus on top of what they're already doing.
Right. So I mean, me personally, as call me an entrepreneur, whatever, right? Me personally, if they're not doing, I guess like $8,000 to $10,000 a month of bonus, then I ask them what's up.
Yeah,
because I mean,
you gotta see their alignment, because you laid it out to where it's a product that people need, and literally they just need to follow through.
Right, and that's it. That's really it.
I love this, because this is something that if you guys are listening right now, and you're probably thinking to yourself, well, I want to do more big cases. I want to do more cases with my iTero. You want to do that? And what Corbin is basically saying is, look, you got to give people the motivation, the incentive to do it. You throw in a little bit of bonus for certain cases, you're probably going to get more of those things.
But, and to what you said right there, right? As an entrepreneur, as a spirit of entrepreneurship, what's like the biggest thing that we kind of face every day is doing the actions.
Yeah, execute
every day, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, actually, I've kind of found myself today. I mean, actually, yesterday, thinking about, okay, let me take action on this.
Yeah.
I mean, let me take action on this item, on this action, right? And that's why I tell a lot of my employees is, if you're not taking action, then there's nothing happening.
I love it.
Right?
I love it.
So,
I mean, that's an awesome quote. Now I'm going to shift gears a little bit, and that is, look, I've been in the same rooms with you.
Yeah.
I've heard you speak. I saw you are like a master networker. Now, for those who are watching right now, you're probably thinking, look, I'm a dentist. I don't need a network. Yeah, you do. If you want to grow your practice, you got to go out to community. You got to talk to people. You got to go to the Chamber of Commerce. Everyone, if you're a business owner, being able to network is a very crucial skill. So I need to ask you, as someone who's a master networker, good at what you do, what are some of your tips to the people who are like, maybe they're introverts and like, oh, I don't like talking to people?
So right now, what I've been seeing is, these, there's really not really that many tips to give. Actually, there is. But, at the end of the day, all right, so, last night, I was on the phone with a practice owner. And he was frustrated he was opening up the med spa side of his practice.
Yeah.
And he goes, man, I just need to hire, a 25, a 27-year-old and just run this shit for me.
Yeah.
And, I make $8,000 a day. I'm doing well, but I don't have the time to put into this when actually I should make the time.
Yeah.
And so this is a business owner saying that, okay, I'll be a better business owner, a better business person if I did this.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of ifs
Yeah.
that I see a lot. There's a bunch of like things that, if you change your marketing or you change just like
your mindset,
the front desk, or train the front desk to say a certain thing, maybe towards a company that you have a prescription model to, just to say, while the patient's leaving, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So he was, this guy was making, I guess like $8,000 to $10,000 a month off of supplements, right? And he got bigger just by telling the front desk to say, hey, this doctor recommends you do this to the patient as they leave.
So it sounds like your advice when it comes to networking better is just do it.
Just do it.